Welcome back, everybody. Been not too long. Been kind of busy. I've been busy at the job, school, a little bit of everything. Just life is just life, and so I'm back with another video, and glad to be back recording. After this, I'm gonna try to get a couple more out. I'm trying to do probably two in a day or something like that, and then just kind of gradually put them out. Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome back to Parks Place Podcast. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on one of the most important parts of modern policing, and that is what really happens the moment someone dials 911, and when an officer makes contact with you, or even if they make contact with you after you call 911 and they have to make an arrest. We're talking about dispatch protocols, response time, scene assessment, and everything in between. If you've ever wondered how fast police respond, or how slow they respond, or why they do what they do, then this episode is for you. So I'm going to try to fill in as much information as I can about when you call 911. Maybe some people don't know what actually goes on when you decide to pick up that phone and something's going on in your life that you actually need the police, or even you don't need the police and you need a non-emergency number. So I'm going to cover that as well. All right. So what happens if you have something going on at your house, you're outside, you're at somebody else's house, or just life is just life, and basically, and you have to get the police involved. And you say, you know what, there's a situation that I can't handle, other people around me can't handle, and let me call someone to intervene before it gets too serious, whether it's physical or somebody's shooting or stabbing, or just it just goes totally left. So when you call 911, who do you have on the other end of the phone? It's going to be a dispatcher, a call taker. If it's a call taker, something like that, they may get your call to a dispatch person, or it may be, maybe it's a busy night, for police and dispatch, and you may end up with the 311 number, which is a non-emergency number. Not every city has that type of capacity, meaning like a 311, where it's not criminal, but you need to talk to someone or something like that. Let's just say somebody's fence is down, grass is high, whatever the case may be. The city of Dallas, when I worked with them, they had a 311 number where it's a non-emergency type number, and those people can help you on that end. And if it is something that they believe, hey, no, you need the actual police, then they would probably turn it over to the dispatch, and they would dispatch someone out to your house. Now, when you call 911, there's going to be the dispatcher is going to ask what you're going to seem like, especially if it's a true emergency, fight going on, or you're a witness of a shooting, cars doing whatever. They're going to ask you key questions. I've seen it and I've heard it where quit asking, I've listened to phone calls when people call 911, they'll tell that dispatcher, ask the dispatcher, why are you asking all these questions? Just send the police. Or they're asking those questions for specific reasons. Basically, because when officers respond to 911 calls, we don't know what we're going to other than the type of call that it's supposed to be, or that's coming over the radio. And it may not be what actually is coming over the radio. So they're going to get as much information from you so they can relay it to whatever officer they're going to dispatch it to. And by the time they get to the location, they have some idea of what's going on, who they need to speak to when they get there, meaning, hey, I'm looking for John Smith. That's the person that called 911. Who's Mr. Smith? Who's Mrs. Jones? So we're going to ask those questions and make sure that we're speaking with the correct person that called 911, because that's who we want to talk to initially, the person that called 911. Now, when you make a call to 911, the calls are prioritized, basically. So, and that's the way that they're dispatched out in the order of seriousness or the type of emergency that it is. Um, I don't think they use the codes as much, because I think they kind of went away from that. Meaning, we still use code 3, meaning lights and sirens if you're going code 3. So the priority of the call, let's just say, hey, there's a suspicious person, roaming around in the neighborhood or something like that. So somebody calls in for a suspicious person, and then someone calls in for a shooting. It's an actual shooting. It's a good shooting. The person sees them, the person that got shot. They seen the suspect that did the shooting. Well, guess what? That call is going to get dispatched first. So let's just say you got the shooting. You have, let's just say, a family violence call where there's disturbance between a husband and a wife. That call is probably going to go out next. So they're going to take care of the shooting first, and then depending on what's going on with that, you're going to have the dispatcher talking to the officers going to that call. And then let's just say there's another one. So that's the way they prioritize. And basically, it's like if there's a shooting, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be first. If there's a disturbance, then that one's probably going to be next. And then so on and so forth. Depending upon that shooting, if you have a lot of officers responding to that shooting, then even that disturbance can be on hold as well until we get enough people, until we get that figured out on the shooting, get that covered, get that settled, get who we need out there, and then they will dispatch out the disturbance. Now, also what I'm used to, officers will volunteer for calls. Let's just take the shooting, for example. Um, you have officers going to that, and then let's just say you have, if I'm listening to the radio, there's enough people on that call. I will get on the radio when there's a break in the radio, or I will send a message on my computer, which we call the MDT. I will send a message to the dispatcher, hey, I can take this call. Or I get on the radio, hey, 444, I can take the disturbance over here at Bethlehem, Illinois. And she'll say, okay, 10-4, she'll just go ahead and sign it to me. And I know she's busy, so I'm just waiting for it to hit my inbox, and I'll go take care of that one. So you do have officers that will volunteer for calls like that, especially if there's something going on serious like that. We just, we're helping each other out. We're trying to clear the calls. We're trying to get to the citizens as quick as possible. Now, the use of codes, like what Dallas just said, there's a disturbance. That would come out as a 6X, meaning if it's a disturbance, let's just say there's physical violence involved, things of that nature. And then let's just say there's another disturbance that come out. We call it a little 6 because it's just a 6. And the disturbance is a 6X. So we call it a little 6. Basically, that may be something like a noise complaint. Somebody's playing loud music in the neighborhood, car driving by, loud music. And we're going to respond to that. And so that's another incident where, let's just say that there's a heavy call load. We can start, picking some of those calls off the call load system. Just start volunteering for those type calls. But a lot of departments are moving away from the codes if they hadn't done so already. And they had been doing that years ago. I think when it started, I might have been in a gang unit. They start just kind of like plain language. So they kind of moved away from the codes. So just kind of, well, you guys wouldn't hear that, but we do. Also, I think I kind of touched on a few minutes ago. There's a difference between, and I think I did the 911 and 311. So we kind of went over that. Not every city has that, where they have a number for 311, and people can just call that, if it's like a non-emergency. But not every city has that. Now, in dispatching the units, or the units meaning the officers, to the call. Now, what's the role? There's this thing that we call it CAD, which is basically computer aided dispatch. So that's basically the best way I can explain it. Let's just say you have your own personal computer. So that's how it's set up in an actual squad car. Not my personal computer, but that's the best way I'm trying to explain it. There's a computer in the car about the size of a laptop. And everything that's dispatched, it's in the CAD system. So basically, the normal way that I say it is, hey, can you put this call, that 6X, that disturbance, can you put it in my box? Meaning in my inbox. So that call is coming specifically to me. And let's just say they give me a call and it's not a criminal offense or anything like that, but I need to make some type of notes or just put something down of what I've seen or responded to on this particular call. So what I would do, and there's actually going to be I guess you can say a police report number assigned to the CAD incident. And so what I would do, let's just say there's no offense, and let's just say I go and I speak to someone and they say, hey, officer, I just want to let you know this is what's going on over here. I know it's not a criminal offense, but I needed to let somebody know These kids are playing basketball or whatever it is that they want to voice a complaint about. So once I leave that location, what I'm going to do 9 times out of 10, I'll probably type it either right there at the residence, or I might just go around the corner, stay on the call, and type up a note on the call sheet. So basically what I do, I'd either do it there, pull around the corner. And the reason I pull around the corner is because I want to stay close to that where that call came out. So let's just say they call 911 again, and now it's elevated to a criminal offense. At least I'm around the corner and I took the first call. So guess what? 9 times out of 10, if a second call comes out, they're going to call me over here. Hey, we got another call coming out at the location that you just left. So if I'm around the corner just typing up some quick notes, and let's just say they do call 911 again, and I hear that on the radio, I'm going to say, hey, this is 444. I'll head back over there. I just left from there, put that call in my inbox. And so basically what I would do is I would, like on the first one, I would just type up some notes because it has plates in there where you can add a remark. Basically, all I'm going to do is add remarks on the call sheet. And I'm going to type up what I'm going to type up, a few sentences. It's not going to be a full blown out criminal offense. I'm just going to say, Officer Park arrived at the location. I spoke to this person. They informed me of a code violation. They informed me of kids running through the neighborhood, or the neighbor walk, when the dog is out all the time or something like that. I'm just going to annotate that on the in the remarks section and hit enter, and boom, it's already recorded. Then I can clear myself off of that call. Now, what I mean by that, once I clear myself, that lets dispatch know I'm done with that call, and anything that you need to send me to, I'm available. So that's what that means when I say I'm going to clear myself. Now, how do dispatchers decide who's going to respond to a particular call? Well, it's going to work. Actually, what I'm finding out personally is that each department does it different, really different. And I have to say, I am a fan of how Dallas does it. Let's just say you're assigned to a particular beat, which means a location in a certain area. And I'll just use a beat that I used to work. You just heard me say 444. Basically what that is, that's in the Oak Cliff area. It covers the Beckley, Illinois area. If I'm not mistaken, I think kind of south of Illinois, all the way down to, I think that's Keast, and I think a little bit south of Keast, and I think maybe far west as Lancaster, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since they may have even changed that area up. So you're responsible for that particular beat. But when I work for Dallas, you just don't get calls on your beat. If there's something up north, and what I mean up north, North Oak Cliff, the area that we're responsible for, around the Jefferson area, Charlton Methodist, far down is Wheatland. As far down as Wheatland, Westmoreland, all that area down there. So you can be assigned to a particular beat, but the way they did it when I was there, they would send you anywhere within the sector, within the Channel 4, which is that's Channel 4 there. So they could send you anywhere there. So you just weren't confined to your particular beat. And so how do they decide how they're going to do that? Now, if a call comes out on your beat, you're going to pretty much try to volunteer for it because you are on that beat. But the way they do it is like whoever is clear. So I may be, let's just say I'm up off of Jefferson somewhere, and I'm not on 444's beat. So they're going to take an element that's clear. So somebody might be assigned to a beat down off of Cockrell Hill and Camp Wisdom. Well, guess what? They're going to have to go up to Beckley in Illinois area. So that's how they were doing it when I was there. Basically, if you're available, they're going to send you on that call. Now, let's just say if somebody else is available and it's my beat and I'm kind of close by and I'm finishing up on a call, I'm either going to add myself to it or I'm going to tell them, hey, I'll take that call, which means I'm going to be lead on the call, and whoever's coming hey, I got the call, but hey, keep coming. You can be my cover until we find out what's going on. And then if you clear, I have the paperwork. So that's kind of what that means. So basically, they're going to, whoever is available, and this is what Dallas PD, when I work with them, that's who they're going to dispatch the call to. Now, if they've changed that, I have no clue. That's just how it was when I was there. Now, fast forward to today, where I work at Red Oak Police Department. They are a little different. Now, they are, if you're assigned, they don't call them beats, they call them districts. So when I go in the mornings, like today, I work District 4 and District 5. So they have 5 districts. So today I was responsible for 2 districts. Everybody else was responsible for 1 district. Reason being, we don't have enough people to cover. Like I said, I had 4 and 5. So we don't have enough people for me just to cover 4, then someone else to cover District 5. So I was responsible for District 4 and 5 today. Now, the way Red Oak PD does it, if you're assigned to that district, guess what? You're going to take that call. So if you're somewhere within the city of Red Oak, let's just say you're on District 1, well, guess what? Dispatcher is going to call you, say, hey, we have a call on, your beat, and they're going to send you to it. So that took me a little bit of getting used to, and still getting used to, because normally I'm used to, hey, whoever's available, boom, you go take care of the call. And if you're on another call, they're going to pull you off of that call with the department I'm working for now, which it has its ups and downs. So just try just getting used to it. Now, another thing, like I kind of mentioned a few minutes ago, as far as how calls are dispatched, officers do listen to the radio, and let's just say an officer is dispatched to a call, and another officer just want to go cover that officer just for officer safety. Depending upon what the call is, then they're going to volunteer. Hey, add me to that call. Hey, I'll go cover that particular element on that call. So you do have officers volunteering to take a call or to go cover another officer. Because I'll listen to the radio and I'll listen to the comments on the call, and I'll get on the radio and say, hey, add me that call. I'm going to cover the other element on that call. They'll say 10-4, and I'll just say, hey, show me en route. And what I mean by show me en route, hey, I'm going to that call. And then also, and that's that far as monitoring the radio and the officer safety. And that's really what that's for, is for the officer safety. Now, we also get what we call real-time call updates. So we get updates, and if you want to call it unit coordination, so let's just say they dispatch the call out, and let's just say it's a disturbance or a shooting, something to that effect. So what I mean by the real call updates, and let's just say it is a shooting or aggravated robbery or whatever, as you're going to the call, because it's going to, depend on where you are within a district or sector or beat, it may take you a few minutes to get there, especially if it's not a code 3 call, which is lights and sirens. It may take you a few minutes to get there. And so even if it's a code 3 call, meaning let's just say it's a shooting, and you're going to this call, lights and sirens, well, it's a shooting. So the real-time updates are coming from you as a citizen because, hey, the shooter is wearing A, B, C, and D. He's wearing a black shirt, black shorts, pants, tennis shoes, the color of the tennis shoes, and describe the weapon. It was a black weapon, looks like a 9mm. It was a silver gun. It was a big gun. It was a revolver. So you're going to give that information to the dispatcher. Dispatcher is going to give us that information. So as we're driving there, we already have a mental picture of what this person has on. So that's not only for officer safety, but if it's a shooting, we're coming in, adrenaline is pumping. So we're looking for a person. And first, we're going to find out if there's anybody hurt. And let's just say we do have a victim. We're going to make sure that person is okay. We need to get paramedics there. And then, of course, people are going to start yelling, hey, they got in this car, they're down here, or they're close by, or whatever the situation is with the suspect. And so, but we're getting that information also on the radio. So as we're en route to the call, that's why the dispatcher, when you call in, that's why they're asking these questions, because we need to know if the person is on scene, we need to know, are they still armed? We need to know what they're wearing. Because trust me, if we get there, we're going to roll in hot, And then if it's a shooting type call, some people going to go on the ground, meaning, hey, because we need to find out who the shooter is. If the shooter is still on scene, we don't know if they don't have the gun anymore. We just now getting there. So we have to know this information because not only are we trying to protect ourselves, but we're also trying to protect the citizens. And if the person is shot, then we're trying to protect the complainant and prevent any other harm coming to them. So we get the updates as we're going to the call, which is really important. So just remember that when you call 911, give as much information as you can, because the reason the dispatcher is asking you that, they're relaying that information to us as we're en route to the call. Even if it's not a shooting, let's just say if it's a domestic deal where there's several people there, it may be a party, it may be a family gathering. When you call 911, say, hey, they're going to ask you, hey, who was involved? Is it the husband and wife? Do you know their name? They're going to ask you all these questions. What are they wearing? So when we get there, when we see a person dressed by the description that we were given, then we know this is our suspect. We know that this is our complainant. We have no idea because, we don't know you on the call. This is maybe our first time seeing you. And so I've heard 911 calls where the caller is upset because the dispatcher is asking the pertinent questions to give this information to officers. So that's why they ask all of these questions. It's for officer safety, and it's for the safety of the people that's at the location. And so then that way we know who to target when we get there, or at least separate them. And if we need to place, depending on the call, if we need to place handcuffs on them for a few minutes until we get everything situated and find out what the heck is going on, then at least that way they are secure. They're not going to hurt us, and they're not going to hurt the citizens at the location. And I think it kind of just touched on what I want to talk about, because when we get this information, what we're doing as officers, at least me anyway, there's a mental prep and scene visualization. I can't talk today. So when we get this information, at least me anyway, this is how I process it. As I'm riding there, as I'm driving there, depending upon the call, really any call, but especially if it's a, I don't want to say high profile, but if it's a shooting, some type of family violence, and they say, hey, it's a large crowd there, I'm playing in my mind what it is I'm going to do. And especially if I've been to that location before, then I kind of know what the setup is. Let's just say if it's a house or business or whatever, I kind of know what the setup is. I'm playing in my mind what I'm going to have to do as an officer. I'm playing in my mind where I need to park the car for safety, so I'm not ambushed when I get to the call. Um, for the most part, we are not going to park directly in front of the house. Now, does that happen sometimes? Yes, it does. But for the most part, I'm probably going to park a house away, maybe two, probably somewhere in the middle. But I'm not going to park right in front of the house. Now, have we had to do that before? Yes, we have. So I'm not saying that that's the gospel right there. But for the most part, we're not going to park right in front of the house for various reasons. So all of this is going through my mind on whatever call it is that I'm going to. So I'm hey, what am I going to do if the suspect does A? What if he does B? What if he does C? So I'm going through my mind of what I'm going to have to do when I get there. And so so I don't want to say so it look like you know what you're doing, but you have to play those scenarios in your head and be ready, for anything, because you don't know what can happen. Now, what do lights and sirens really mean? Basically, what lights and sirens mean. Let's just say if it is a shooting, we're definitely going lights and sirens. Let's just say if it's a aggravated robbery, hey, suspect is still on scene, boom, we're going lights and sirens. So there's numerous calls that we will go to lights and sirens, which is code 3. So that's so we can get there fairly quick, before the person leaves the location. So that's what the lights and sirens mean. Now, and the reason that what I was just talking about a few minutes ago is about playing scenarios in your head as I'm going to these particular calls is for officer safety as well. Because going to these calls, like in a couple of episodes, for me, no call is routine. No call is routine because anything can happen. And that's why when I go to calls and they give me the description of the suspect, or if there's people there and they're not the suspect, and you have, there's, let's just say, the people that are not involved, and somebody constantly has their hand in their pocket and they're just fidgety. So I'm expecting the unexpected. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you so nervous? And if I feel the need to, come here for a sec. Let me pat you down for my safety and for yours, for officer safety, because I don't know what this person's doing. Let's just say the suspect that I'm actually dealing with, depending on the call, if there's a shooting call or whatever, I'm going to pat the guy down for weapons, or lady. I wouldn't pat her down, but the female officer would. Let's just say before I get there, he passes the gun off. So he probably knows that 9 times out of 10, he's going to get, a pat down for weapons. Let's just say he passes that gun off, and let's just say they're going to go for broke. Meaning when the officers get there, hey, just start shooting. And so I see this person just kind of fidgety. It's like, okay, this was a shooting call. My suspect didn't have a weapon on him. Then this other guy over here, he's being a little suspicious. He's being fidgety. He's a little nervous, and he keeps adjusting his front pocket, back pocket, or whatever he's adjusting. And it's like, in my mind, okay, does he have a weapon on him? Let me see why he's keep adjusting his pants or going into his pocket, and let me see what's going on. So you always have to expect the unexpected because you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what I mean by, officers, we're walking into the unknown. And I guess another thing is, sometimes you can't take this stuff personal because we have to stay safe. Like I said, it's not only just us, the officers, trying to stay safe. We're trying to keep the citizens, the people who call, the person who called, the suspect on the call. We're trying to keep them safe because if we place them in handcuffs, now they're vulnerable because whoever they assaulted, whoever they shot, or whatever the case may be, let's just say there's a relative of the other person there. That person now can try to come up and steal them while we got them in handcuffs. And what I mean by steal them, just walk up and hit them, run up and hit them, while they're handcuffed. So I'm not trying to have that person, whatever they did, let the courts deal with that. I'm not here to be judge, jury, and executioner. My job is there to enforce the law and give that person a fair shot. So we're there to protect everybody on the scene, even the perpetrator that did whatever it is, whether it's a family violence or whether it's shooting, whether it's a robbery or whatever. Me personally, I'm going to treat you with respect, and let you deal with your legal issues. So that's part of expecting the unexpected. And this is, I think I kind of covered this, but I'm still going to hit this point right here. Internal communication, the pre-arrival planning. And I kind of touched on that. So basically, whatever call it is, you're going through your mind. What am I going to do? Are the people going to be irate? Are they going to be yelling? Are they going to be screaming? Are they also, they went over here. Why are you standing there? How am I going to deal with this? And that's the stuff that's going through your mind. And when I've arrived at certain locations, it's been total chaos at some. And I think I said before, sometimes we're that peace in the middle of these people's storm. And something like that, because I've arrived at scenes where people are just screaming, yelling, and you're trying to listen, and you have depending on how many people there, over, anywhere from 5 to 10 people trying to talk to you at once. And then you have to calm them down. And you have to be respectful, because then they're going to be mad at you. Now, has it been times where I had to say, hey, one person talk, let me talk to you, because you have to take control of that scene. So that's part of that pre-planning, because when you get there, you hope that you don't have to do that. But when you get out of the car, you can't be all excited, what the hell going on here? You can't do that. You get out of the car and hey, I'm looking for Mrs. Smith. She the one called 911. Where's Mrs. Smith? That's who I'm looking for. Whoever the person that called 911, that's who I'm looking for, because you're going to have a lot of people at a location that has really nothing to do with it other than being nosy and think that they're helping, but they're not. So you have to decipher that stuff. You have to take control of the situation. And so I'm going to look on my call sheet on my computer, and I need to know the person that called 911, because that's who I'm looking for when I get out of that car. You know, if you're talking to me, that's saying I'm first time I say, who are you? Okay, do me a favor, stand over here, and I'm gonna get to you. This is who I'm looking for. Do you know who this person is? Yes, that's such and such. She's in the house, he's in the house. Okay, stay right here. And also over here, we'll talk to you. I need to go talk to Mrs. Smith or Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, whoever called 911. Whoever called 911, that's the person I want to talk to. Other than that, to me, you're just bystanders. And then once I find out if you're a witness, or you're another complainant, you got hit or whatever in this incident, then I will also talk to you as well. But I definitely don't need 25 different stories. But have I gotten that before? Yes, I have. And that's why it's important for the officer. And when do we get calls where people don't want to be identified? Yes, all the time. And they don't want to be contacted. Or if they do call, they don't want to talk when you get there. That happens too. So don't believe that everybody gives their name, or they just don't want to be contacted. In today's time, they just don't want to be contacted. Now, if it's somebody that's been hurt, of course they're going to give their name. Or if it's a disturbance where, let's just say it's a mom and her son is involved in an altercation with someone, she's going to give her name. The dad's going to give his name if he calls. So that's part of that pre-planning where, okay, who am I? Look at the call sheet. Who's my complainant or who's my caller? That's the person I need to contact when I get there. Everything else out there is just chatter. Now, if somebody's telling me, hey, I saw this, hey, give me a minute, I'm gonna come back and talk to you. That's the way you got to handle that. Now, assessing the safety and identifying the suspects and the victims. I think I just covered that too. So arriving on the scene, that's what you're gonna do. As soon as I pull up, safety is the number one issue. So as soon as I get there, like I say, I do a lot of scanning of the bodies, just around, around the area. And if I feel like I need more cover, let's just say if I get there first, or just me and another officer, I'm going to get a real, hey, start me about 3 more elements. It's about, 40, 50 people out here. We need some more people out here. That's going to be the first thing. That's officer safety right there. Not only officer safety, but also the citizen, because anything can happen out there. Identify the suspects and the victims. That's a big thing. You have to, if the suspect is on scene, hey, first I'm saying find out who the victim is, which is going to be my complainant. They may not have called, but they're the person that was injured, struck or whatever. And when I talk to that person, hey, who did this? And if they know who it is, and if they tell me, my husband did it, my boyfriend did it, well, where's he at? Well, that's him over there. Okay. I'm not going to go over there and place cuffs on him right away, or my partner's not. Normally, the way we do it on something like that, if I'm lead on the call, I'm going to talk to the complainant. If I have a partner, or even if whoever drove up, because I still call it my partner, they're going to talk to the possible suspect. So I'm going to talk to her. Somebody's going to talk to the other suspect, whether it be male or female. After I talk to that person, I see that my partner's finished talking with the other person. And if there's a witness or two, we'll talk to them. And then we'll come together. Hey, this is what she told me. I'm going to tell my partner that. Then my partner's going to tell me, well, this is what he said. And then together, or if I'm leading, I'm going to make the decision if I have an arrest, or if I just need to ask somebody to leave. Or if he or she does not want to press charges, then they don't have to press charges. So that's part of identifying who you need to speak with. So you're going to be looking for your victim, you're going to be looking for a suspect, and any witnesses there. But the number one thing when you arrive on a call is the officer safety. Assessing for safety, meaning, assessing the crowd, initially because if you have 10, 12, 20 people out there, I'm assessing that crowd to see if anybody is trying to pull out a weapon or anything like that and take a shot at the officers, us walking up to the scene, and just try to assess the area, then try to see if I can speak to someone calmly and say, hey, what is going on? And, just kind of go from there. So arriving there is assessing the safety of the scene, and then identifying the suspect and the victims. Now, legal guidance. What do you mean by that, Parker? Legal guidance means, can I arrest someone? Let's stick with the family violence deal. Um, if there's no physical altercation between the two, and there's just and both confirmed, because we're not going to talk to them right there together. They're going to be separate, just like I was just explaining then. And there's no physical altercation. They were just a verbal argument, and there's no criminal offense. They just got into an argument. And if they get into an argument, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to ask, hey, can you leave for the night? Do you have family members that you can go to, or can you get a room tonight? That way, when we leave, it doesn't escalate into something to a more serious family violence type offense. And then sometimes somebody will say, hey, I'll go ahead and leave. I'll go to my mom's, I'm going to leave. I don't want to get in trouble, or I just need to cool off anyway. So that has happened. And then on the flip side, you have something, no, I'm not going anywhere. This is my house. I'm not going to go anywhere. And then what they'll do is they'll go to separate rooms. Most people have, more than one bedroom. So they'll want to go in one bedroom, the other will go in the other bedroom. And I'll let them know before I leave, hey, look, y'all just let it rest until tomorrow. We don't want to come back out here. And I'll let them know if I come back, somebody's going to have to do something, either go to jail or, you're going to have to catch a hotel or something. But we don't want it to escalate. And so, but for the most part, even when I have people that decide to stay and they just had an argument, and I think what happens, this is my personal opinion, I think what happens is they see the seriousness of it, and it's like, you know what? One of us or both of us could have went to jail. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to sleep it off. The other person going to sleep, and they'll deal with it in the morning. And there's been times where total opposite. We've had to go back to locations. So, and you can kind of tell before you leave, if you're going to have to come back. Because if both of them are still at each other, meaning just yelling and screaming and arguing, I'll just pull somebody aside. Hey, can you go somewhere for tonight? And then eventually somebody will agree to leave. And I was like, I really think it's for the best. So that legal guys meaning reasonable suspicion or probable cause. And what I just said a few minutes ago, can I take someone to jail? Not just on a family violence deal. Any deal that I go to, can I take someone to jail? Do I have enough whatever they told me happened? Did it meet the elements of whatever criminal offense in the penal code to take someone to jail? And so I think I said on another episode that officers have to know that penal code, because as people, this is just how I do it, but as people are talking to me, explaining to me what happened, I'm going through my mind and saying, okay, right now I don't have a criminal offense. They're still talking. Right now I don't have a criminal offense. And then at some point they're going to get to a stopping point, and I'm going to ask, is that all that happened? Is there anything else? No, that's everything that happened. And I'll tell them, hey, right now we don't have a criminal offense. So we're gonna have to figure something out. If you want to leave for the night or just whatever, go to a relative's home, that may be best. And then on the flip side, they say, hey, if something does ring a bell to me, no, this is a criminal offense because it meets the elements of this particular offense, then I could take someone to jail. And then let's just say I do have enough to take somebody to jail, and one of the parties saying, I'm going to keep it as, husband and wife type deal. And they're going to say, well, hey, look, I don't want him. I don't want her to go to jail. Let me leave for the night. And sometimes that's what happens. And that kind of calms stuff down. And then you have some say, hey, no, take him to jail. No, take her to jail. Whichever one is the one that was showing the aggression or assaulted the other person. And communication with witnesses and securing the area. So we dealing with the victims and the possible suspect. So once we deal with that, let's just say I'm talking to the complainant, and then my partner's talking to possible suspect. Now, if there's like 2 or 3 more officers that showed up, and let's just say somebody told me that they saw something, I would ask one of the officers, hey, can you talk to this person over here? Because that's one of my witnesses. Can you get their information and find out what they said regarding this? And so let's just say it's 2 or 3 witnesses or whatever. And whatever officers talk to them, I'm going to go talk to those officers at the scene. Hey, what did they say? What did they see? Because I'm trying to see if what they observed lines up with what the victim and the so-called suspect is saying. Because I was always told there's 3 sides to every story. There's her side, there's his side, there's his side, there's her side, and then there's the truth. So getting those witnesses information on what they observed helps, because you have hopefully an independent witness and say, hey, this is what I seen, no, this person didn't hit them. This person is the one that did the hitting. This person hit him first, or this person hit her first. And so now we have a witness. Like I said, I would talk to each officer, whoever talked to witness, say, hey, what did they say? Now you're probably wondering, how am I going to write that up? Well, I'm going to do the offense report, offense and arrest report. And then the other officers, whoever talked to those witnesses, they're going to do what we call a supplement to the report. So since they spoke with the witness or witnesses, then those officers would supplement the main report that I'm going to do, because I can't testify or speak on what that witness informed that other officer. The other officer can tell me what they said, and that's going to help determine if I have enough to take someone to jail or not take someone to jail. And so they would do the supplement and with the person's information on the report. So they would be responsible for the supplement. And I think I kind of covered that with the backup, the coordination. And let's get into with the paramedics. I'm gonna add that to it as well. So let's just say we get to a location and somebody needs paramedics. I'm just gonna get on the radio and say, hey, can you start for DFD or the Red Oak paramedics? Can you start them to the location? It would either be me making that call, like, hey, no, this person needs to be seen by paramedics, see if they need to go to the doctor, or the person may ask, hey, something doesn't feel right or whatever, can you call the paramedics? And so they'll come out, and then we will let them know, hey, if we're talking about like that, they're going to go ahead and come to the location. And because it's not a hot scene, meaning we don't have an active shooter, meaning we don't have a suspect down, and the suspect is still in the area, probably still shooting. They're not going to come into that location like that. They're probably going to be staged somewhere close by. Then once we make the scene or the location safe, and then we would bring the paramedics in and get the person out as quick as we can. Legal thresholds. I know you guys heard of probable cause and officer discretion. Kind of touched on what I can make arrest on. On the probable cause and officer discretion, I'm trying to think of an example I can give you guys, because we don't have to take, we have some discretion on if we can take someone to jail. And the best way, or the best one scenario I can give you is, let's just say, on one of the disturbances that we just talked about. Let's just say if I'm talking to the possible suspect, and let's just say that, hey, there's not a criminal offense. We'll keep that the family violence stuff. A criminal offense has not occurred. They were just in an argument, but we're going to check both the complainant and the suspect. We're going to run their name through dispatch. We're going to give them name, date of birth, sex, the black male, black female, white female, and their date of birth. And hey, can you check this person? Now, when they check the person, they're going to run them to see if they have any warrants. And let's just say the suspect does have, and you can label whoever you want as a suspect, the man or the woman. You can label whoever you want as a suspect. The suspect has either one warrant, meaning we call it a single alias. So they have one warrant out of the city. Let's just say they have a couple regional warrants. So they may have something out of Grand Prairie, Arlington, or whatever. Could we take them to jail? Yeah, we could. If it's a family violence deal and neither one are cooperating to make that scene safe, to make sure that we don't come back or any type of offense actually occurs, we can take that person to jail on those warrants. But let's just say both are now being cordial now that they see the seriousness of it, and they say, "Hey, officer, there's not going to be no more problems. We're okay. We're going to talk it out. I'm going to go ahead and go to sleep. This, that, and the other." And so I have the discretion of not taking them to jail. I would let them know, "Hey, look, you got a ticket out of Dallas. Just take care of it." Or you got a ticket out of Dallas and you got a ticket out of Grand Prairie. Look, you need to take care of those. I'm not going to take you to jail tonight, but you need to take care of those. Now, flip side, I got something in my back pocket. Meaning, let's just say we're out there and person, the suspect just now we had everything calm. Now the suspect gets irate and starts acting a plumb fool. There's still no criminal offense on the family violence side, but they just want to act a fool. Now I still have the discretion. Guess what? You probably going to go to jail because now you're escalating. And now if I leave you here, it's more likely that something else is going to happen if I leave you here. And so that's where that officer discretion comes in. Let's just, like I said, there's not a criminal offense as far as on the family violence side, but when we run the name, the person comes back with 1 or 2 warrants. So I don't have to really take that person in on the warrant. And let's just say if the guy's been cordial, he's been cool, hadn't created any problems, and he's okay with his wife, and you can kind of look at him and he's like, hey, I think they kind of get in the picture. They're like, look, man, I'm not going to take you on the warrants, but just take care of him. Now, I'll put a little bug in his ear or her ear. Look, if I got to come back, I'm going to take you to jail on the warrants. That's what I'm going to let him know, because then he has something to think about. He has the warrants, and then the officer, hey, if he come back, I'm going to jail on the warrants. So there's that officer discretion, and that as far as the discretion and the probable cause. Now, didn't have a probable cause because there was no criminal offense, but with the discretion on the warrants. Now, what's another thing? The Miranda rights and the use of force protocols. Right, with stuff like that, I mean, as far as I think we talked about the use of force protocols as far as when officers can use force and the level of force that we are allowed to use. If you don't remember, if we get into a use of force situation, most departments have a force continuum, meaning that it's a stair step. If you can use pressure points, and if the suspect is doing A, B, C, or D, you can use an ASP, or you can use MACE if a suspect is doing A, B, C, and D. Then you can get into the baton, and then up to deadly force. So you have that to deal with. Now, Miranda rights, reading your rights. You have the right to remain silent. All that good stuff there. From just my experience, there's a big misconception on the Miranda rights. I've been on calls, even here with the new department that I'm with. First thing people want to holler, I know my rights. I don't have to do such and such and this, that, and the other. I'm just asking you your name and your date of birth. The only time Miranda rights have to be read is if you're getting ready to ask someone a question about a criminal offense that they were possibly involved in. Now, on regular calls that we go to, we have to get information. Hey, what's your name? Tell me what happened. We have to get that information. And if the witness tells us that, hey, not the witness, I'm sorry, the complainant, hey, this person assaulted me, this person hit me, then we have that. And then if the person goes downtown and talk to a detective, the detective will Mirandize them. And the funny thing that I've experienced, you get these people that, they think they know the law and they don't. And they claim they know their rights. You have to read me Miranda. No, I don't have to read you Miranda. What do you mean? Because I'm not asking you a question about a criminal offense that you were involved in. And the best way I can describe that is when I became a detective within robberies or homicide, if I had a potential suspect that officers brought downtown to headquarters for me to speak to. I'm gonna get them in the room. I'm gonna do my little initial spiel. I'm gonna get all the personal information, and I'm asking name, date of birth, where you live, phone number, mom's name, where'd you graduate high school? Did you go to college? I'm asking questions like that initially, and I'm doing that to to build a rapport with the person to get them to talk to me. Now, once I finish that sheet of personal information, and we're just talking about personal stuff and this, that, and the other, then I'm gonna say, hey, look, there's something that happened that I need to ask you some questions about, and they may start talking about. I say, just give me a few seconds, and then we'll get to that point. I was like, this is what I'm hearing from this person over here. This is what I've seen on the video. If I've seen the video, whatever I want to, kind of dangle in front of them. And I'll say, look, I need to ask you some questions. There's two sides to every story, but I need to ask you some questions about this offense that people are telling me that you're involved in. I say, but before I do that, I have to advise you of your rights. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to read you your rights. And then after I finish reading your rights, I'm going to ask you, would you like to continue to speak with me? And you're going to answer in the affirmative, or you're going to say no. And then I read them Miranda. Once I read them the Miranda warning, and I'm going to ask them, do you understand the rights that I just read to you? They're going to 9 times out of 10 say yes. And I'm going to say, do you wish to continue to speak with me? They're going to say, yeah, I want to speak to you. Now I can start asking questions about the criminal offense that this person may be involved in. I run across the Facebook lawyers, the jailhouse lawyers that think they know the law and they don't. And I just kind of chuckle inside. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was the same way before I became a cop. I assumed that I knew the law. I didn't throw it up in police officer's face, but my eyes were open once I became a cop. And it's like, okay, shoot, I had that wrong when I was younger. And the one thing I do, especially when you're talking to someone on these calls, and then you always have that lawyer in the crowd. And so when I figure out who the lawyer is in the crowd, and he's telling the person what they can and can't do, and what I can and can't do, and they're speaking up for the person, I'm like, hey, you got your bar card? And they'll look at me. And when they give me that look, I say, okay, you're not a lawyer then, because they don't know what a bar card is. And I say, so you're not a lawyer? No. I say, okay, well, this person can speak for themselves. And I kindly dismiss them. So understand that about Miranda. So the only time that I have to read you Miranda is when I'm getting ready, or any officer is getting ready to ask you questions about a criminal offense. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to be you're talking to a detective in that type of setting. So that's when they're going to start asking you the serious questions about a criminal offense. And that's when you would get Mirandized. Now, what about somebody, let's just say on one of these calls, somebody does end up going to jail. So you have the transport, and you have handcuff procedures. Now, on the transport, the way it's done nowadays, when I first got with Dallas, we didn't have the cages, so everything basically in the car, it was open. You sit in the back seat, you can move around freely. Now they have the cages in there where you can't, it's all blocked off. But normally, like now, the department I'm with now, I have a cage in the car, in the SUV that I'm in. So they will be placed in the back seat of the car on the passenger side. And when I first started working for Dallas, when I was a one man, then what would happen is the person that I arrested would be in the front seat with me, handcuffed to the back, hands in the back, and the cuffs are behind them. And the reason you want them in the front seat, you don't know what they can do in the back seat. They can get out of cuffs. Maybe somebody didn't pat them down good. They get out of the cuffs, and now they have a gun, they have a knife. Now there's a problem inside the car. And even in the front seat, there's some sense of, I don't want to say danger, but let's just say you have somebody that wants to get out of the cuffs, and let's just say they do get out of the cuffs. Now there's an issue. If he starts trying to fight the officer while they're driving, that's an issue. And I think that's why they went to the cages, so they won't possibly have that situation. Um, and in I'm not going to say all of Texas, just from the departments that I worked at, you're handcuffed, your hands are placed behind your back, and that's the way you're cuffed. You're not cuffed in the front. That, in my personal opinion, that can create a lot of problems because your hands, even though they're cuffed, your hands are still free. You can probably do something. So, and I had people say, "Hey, can you cuff me in the front?" No, I can't cuff you in the front. Our department's policy that your hands have to be behind your back and we have to cuff you from in the back. So we got the transport and we got the handcuffing procedures for at least the two departments I work for. Then you have the report writing and the documentation. Now, on the report writing, like I said, each department is different. Some departments want you to write dissertations. And then some departments just want you're going to give good information, but you're just going to give the elements of the offense. And then all the other stuff is kind of like in supplements once the detective gets the case, and then he's going to build upon that, meaning now he's going to get the witnesses down, get it video recorded. He's getting their statements. He's going to add it to whatever he has to but submit to the DA's office. You're going to talk to the suspect. If you can talk to the suspect, any other witnesses, you're going to get the detective will get all that information and add it to the initial offense report that you made. And so you have that, the report writing and the documentation. So basically in most departments, not all, most departments, the patrol officer will do the initial report and an arrest report, which it kind of mirrors the offense report, and then just certain things are added to it. And then you take them to jail. Like I said, every department is different. When I work for Dallas, we take them down to Uncle Lou's, do the offense report, arrest report, a bookend sheet, drop them off, and we leave. The department I'm at now, we're kind of doing the patrol and the detective side of it as well. From the paperwork that we're doing where I'm at now, we're doing most of the detectives part as well. So you have that documentation, that initial documentation, and then what happens next? So you have reports. So basically, like I said, what I'm used to is once that officer puts them in jail, they're going to do the initial offense report and their arrest report. And then in the morning, well, all that stuff goes through a computer-generated system, and then it goes to a respective unit. If it's family violence, it goes to a family violence unit. If it's robbery, it goes to a robbery unit. Or youth, it goes to that particular unit. So when a detective, and I'm speaking on when I work for Dallas now, so when I go to work in the morning, when I was a detective, there's going to be stuff, maybe 2 or 3 offenses on my desk. Those are the cases that I have been assigned as a detective. And so I'm going to start looking through them. I'm going to read them. They're going to let me know if the person's in jail or if they're at large or what it is I need to do. And so I'm going to look at those reports. I'm going to read the reports. If the person's in jail, I'm going to there's certain things I have to do. I have the offense report and arrest report. Now I have to do what you call the probable cause affidavit. And then, oh man, it's been so long since I worked for Dallas. There's other stuff that we have to submit to the DA. And then that's where the investigation starts. And so when I get that as a detective, then I have witnesses listed. If the suspect is large, I'm going to have the suspect's name. I'm going to have the complainant's name. So guess what I'm doing that day? I'm making calls. And the way I did it, I had a little recorder. And so I had it hooked up to my phone. So as I start calling people, boom, after it starts ringing, boom, I hit record. And so because I don't know who I'm going to get. And so I need that thing started when I ask for whoever I'm asking for. And then I'm going to hit up my witnesses. I'm going to talk to my complainant first. I'm going to call the witnesses, get their information, get their side of the story. I'm going to try to get them to come down and speak to me at headquarters. And if I really, really need to talk to them and they don't want to come down there, I'm going to go to them. I'm going to say, well, hey, do you mind if I come to you and speak to you about this case. You don't have to come up here. I can come to you. Some say yes, hey, that's fine, that's better. Some say no, they don't even want you coming to their house. I've met with people at a neutral location because they just don't want to, they don't want their neighbors or anybody seeing, hey, such and such had a detective roll up to their house, on that deal that happened the other day. So you know how it is now. They want to label people as snitches and all this other stuff. So that's why they don't want to, not all, but some don't want you to come to their house. Ideally, you want them to come to headquarters. And this is what I tell people when I don't know if I want to come down there. I say, hey, look, nobody's going to know that you're coming down here unless you tell somebody. For all they know, you went to the store. Because the reason you want them to come down to headquarters, at least I did, was it's recorded. As soon as they step in the room, we close the door, it's going to start recording. So they did away with the written statements a long time ago when I was working for Dallas because everything was recorded. And so now on the investigative side, you have the people coming down, you have the complainant coming down. This is the way that I did it. Talking about the complainant and any witnesses that were listed. I try to get them come down, I get everything recorded, and I go over all that stuff. Now, if I have a listed suspect or they tell me who the suspect is, I might have to develop photo lineups. Hey, I need you to come back down. Somebody's going to show you a photo lineup. And then when I have enough to arrest a suspect or identify a suspect, now my job is and my goal is to get that possible suspect to come down and speak to me. They probably already know that what's going on. They're going to say that they don't know. Hey, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. They're going to get that whole spiel and to get them to come down. Some come down, some don't. It doesn't matter. If I got enough to put a warrant on them, I'm going to put a warrant on them. And some will come down and, hey, I just need to hear your side of the story. I'm hearing what the people are saying over here. I need to hear your side of the story. Some come down and speak to me and some don't. And then that's okay, because that's the whole goal of being a detective, an investigator, is to put your case together, so and to keep building on it, not just through the witness statements, but other evidence to connect them to whatever it is that you're investigating. And now, so you have so what happens next in this 911 process, now we're to the point where an investigator has it. The investigator has the reports. He's doing his investigative side. What are you going to charge them with? Let's just say whatever the initial charge was, let's just say that doesn't really meet what the witnesses are saying, what the complainant is saying, and what the suspect is saying. So now you're going to have to adjust that. So you're going to have to do one or two things. You're going to have to add a charge, drop a charge, change something, and go with that charge. And then at that point, you file your case. Let's just say you're filing a warrant on the suspect. So what I'm going to do now is I've talked to everybody. I talked to the witnesses. I talked to the complainant. I was even able to talk. Let's just say I was able to talk to the suspect, and he kind of implemented himself in the offense. I can do one or two things. While he's down there talking to me, I'm going to let him know, hey, look, I'm going to have to arrest you today for whatever the charge is. And oh man, come on, yeah, man, I'm going to have to take you. I'm going to have to walk a warrant, and then I'm going to get you over to jail. That's one scenario. Another one is, let's just say the suspect does not come and talk to me, but I have enough evidence, meaning within the case itself, through physical evidence and witness statements and the complainant's statement. He was picked out by 3 people in a photo lineup that I did not present. We had a photo lineup unit, and he was picked out. I have enough to file a warrant on him. So at that point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type up the warrant. I'm going to walk it over to Lou Sterrett, get it signed by a judge. I'm going to swear to it, all that good stuff. Judge's going to sign off. And then I'm going to walk it to the back window back there on the floor. And depending on what type of case it is, I'm either going to drop it off and then they're going to enter the warrant. But if I need this guy like right now, and let's just say I have people looking for him or they have eyes on him, it's like, hey, I'm going to ask him, hey, can you put this in the system right now? Because I have the gang unit, I have undercover people watching this person, waiting for him to leave. I need this guy hot right now. And when I say hot, I need the warrant on him that, hey, he has a warrant. So I needed them hot. And then I would give them that warrant, and they would go ahead and enter in the system. And then as I'm walking out of Lou Sterrett, I'm going to call my boy BK. Hey, BK, he hot, man. Get him when you can. We got eyes on him right now. So that's a part of it, too, in this 911 process. So we went from answering the call, when I get to the call, make an arrest, and it got to the investigator. And so now I put charges on whatever person. Then how do supervisors and detectives get involved? We just got to the part about the detectives, how the detectives get involved. What about supervisors? Well, with supervisors, they pretty much, when I was with Dallas, they pretty much let us do our job. If we had a question, then we would get with them, and they would let us do our job as far as putting folks in jail. Let's just say, it's been instances where when I first started, I would just call a star and say, hey, star, this is what I got. I think I have enough to put him in jail on A, B, C, and D. This charge, it meets the elements of the office, because I didn't want to think, just me, I didn't want whatever sergeant I was working for to thinking that, hey, Parker calls me all the time and want to know, does he have enough to put the guy in jail? I'm calling and say, hey, this is what I have. This is what I want to put him in jail for. Here are the elements of the offense. And this is what the penal code says. And they say, oh, you good, man. Just go ahead and take him to jail. No problem, sir. Got it. Now, on the detective side, where do the supervisors come into play? Well, once we type up the warrant, do the PC affidavit or whatever, guess what? The sergeant has to sign off on that warrant. So we just can't do a warrant and just go take it over Lou Sterrett and then put a warrant on someone without a supervisor looking at it, because now you're getting into the arena of, man, he just putting anybody in jail, and it doesn't even meet the elements of the offense. So basically, you have a check and balance type deal, not like our government. You have a check and balance type deal where I'm doing a warrant and I'm taking it to my supervisor. He's going to make sure that it does meet the elements of the offense, that I have enough to put this person in jail, and that my PC affidavit lines up with enough to put the person in jail. So my sergeant's going to sign off on that, and then I'm going to walk the warrant to the judge. She's going to see my supervisor signed it, and that's where we're going to go from there. So that's where the supervisors and the detectives get involved. Now, and this is all after the call. Everything I've been saying now, this is after the call and things of that nature. So, and then even after the call, depending upon what it is, I can go through an emotional and mental toll. Because calls are like a roller coaster. You're going to answer some calls. You're going to be on a homicide. You're going to be in a car chase. And you're going to be up here. Adrenaline's going to be pumping. And then the next call, it may be a loud music call. The next call may be a meet complainant. And basically what that is, hey, you got to meet this person over here. They're requesting police presence. You go over there and then you say, hey, did you call for police? Yes. What you got? And then they tell you what you have. And really, it's just a civil matter. It's not a police matter. There's not a criminal offense that has occurred. And so it's going like this. So your emotions and the mental, you're going up and you're going down. You're going up, you're in the middle, you go down, you back up. So it's a constant thing day in and day out on these calls. So that's why I say no call is routine, because you don't know what's going to happen when you get there. Because you may just have left that homicide call, and now you're going to this other call. Let's just say it's a cat in a tree. Now you're going to this call. Now you're dealing with grandma, and now you have to come down, let that adrenaline come down, and speak sensibly and more calmly. Yes, ma'am. Can I help you today? And she's going to let you know what's going on. Then the next call, it may be an officer involved shooting. It may be an officer down. Now your adrenaline's pumping. Now you're going 100 miles an hour. Then the next call, boom. Guess what? Another loud music call. So it's a roller coaster ride as far as an emotional toll on officers. And that's what you get as far as the misconception from TV versus real life. And Parker, what do you mean by that? Well, probably a lot of stuff you see on TV is fake, not realistic, as far as what's in the real world. And I like to watch, the cop shows, not all of them, but most, I like watching, some of those, not all the cop shows, but some, very far few in between. I will say this: when I was in the gang unit, a lot of guys was talking about this show called The Wire, and I had never heard of it at the time, and I think it had just started. And every week they'd come in, man, you got to check out The Wire. Man, did you see last night's episode? Man, what are y'all talking about? They said, man, Parker, you not watching The Wire? I said, no, I have no idea what that is. I think it came on Showtime or one of the pay channels or whatever. So I started watching it, and I got hooked. That show was the most realistic police show that I had ever watched. All this other stuff you see is, for a better lack of words, garbage. It's entertaining, and that's about it. They may have one thing that may be somewhat realistic, but and that's where a lot of people make the mistake, because they think what they see on TV is what happens in real life, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. So kind of be careful with what you watch on TV, because you try to, God forbid that you're involved, or you have to call 911 for something serious, or you're involved in something. You're basing your reality on what you've seen on TV. And when reality hits, you're going to see what you see on TV is not the way that it is. And so you have to be careful what you watch. It's good for entertainment. That's the best way. That's always good for entertainment. But when you run across the police and now you're involved in some type of criminal offense, it's not what you see on TV. It's totally different. Totally different. So what I wanted to do was talk about the calls for service that we get. They're fast-paced. They're often dangerous. And then the next time you see an officer, or if you have to call 911, just remember, the reason the dispatcher is asking you these questions is so they can relay the information to the officer that's responding to your location. So they know what the suspect is wearing. They know what the complainant is wearing. They know, hey, I'm at this club, I'm in this crowd. Give as much information as you can. They're not just asking you this just to ask you. It's for officer safety, and it's for the safety of the general public. So, so now you know a little bit more about the life and death decisions being made in real time. What I want you to do is just be sure you just subscribe, like, and share the video. I'm going to try to get some more out next week. It's been hectic at my job. We've been kind of busy, but I'm glad to get back on here, put out some more information. And you guys, like I said, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like it, and share it with someone. And I'll see you on the next one.